Alright, what's up guys? This is Elite from We Can't Respawn. I'm just dropping a quick video to talk about the newest UFC 2 patch that came out. I think it's patch 1.0.5, I think I saw somewhere. Or I could be making that up, I don't know. Either way. There was a patch, I'm sure most of you know if you play the game. If you don't, I don't know why you're watching this, but anyways. There was a patch. You can check out the full patch notes on their website. I'm just going to go over a couple of them here before I get into the thick of it. They added a strike intercept, which is supposed to interrupt an opponent's strike if it's landed within the initial wind-up phase. It doesn't seem like much has changed in my opinion as far as that goes. They did do a few good things, such as nerfing the clinch to an extent. And they added the Stockton slap, which is pretty dope. That's a Nick and Nate Diaz signature move. Before I go any further, I want to just say that I do like the developers for this game and have a lot of respect for them as far as listening to the community and things like that. So I do think this will get taken care of, but let's get into it now. They tweaked some of the grappling stuff as well, which I haven't noticed too much of a difference in. I probably have roughly, I don't know, 10, 15 fights under the new patch. So I have a decent idea, but, you know, a lot of my fights don't go to the ground, so I don't really know too much difference-wise as far as that goes. And the gameplay in the background you're seeing is just a couple fights I've recorded real quick to just put in the background here, I guess. So now my issue comes with the change to the parry system. What they did is it says if a parry is mistimed, the block is not activated automatically. So before, if you mistimed a parry, you would still have a regular block to fall back on, which I thought was great. I am a heavy counter fighter, which is one thing I want to note here before I get too far in. My primary fight style is definitely counter punching, counter kicking, whatever the hell you want to call it. A lot of people play super aggressive online, so I usually counter fight so I can pick up on patterns and use that to my advantage and kind of go from there. So parry was a big part of my game, but now with the block not being activated automatically, it makes parrying super risky. I don't think that it didn't need to be changed. I think it was a bit too easy for sure. But I don't think the change needed to be this drastic. This is like learning an entire new system, and it's way too big of a change in my opinion. The first reason I think I have an issue with it being as large of a change as it is because obviously parrying is timing based, and if you're playing online, you have to rely on a connection to set up your timing. So the beginning of every match for me, as far as I'm concerned, was kind of a trial and error, where, you know, I would try to parry and I'd have to try and figure out the connection and the lag and the timing for a parry. So now, if I'm to try and do this in the beginning of a match, I'm going to get smoked because I'm not used to the fact that the block isn't activated automatically. And I'm just getting crushed before I realize that I'm not blocking, because I don't know about you, but I don't watch my fighter a lot. I watch the opponent. I know what moves I'm going to throw. I know what they look like, so I don't need to look at them. But now I have to pay a shit ton of attention to my fighter, so I notice that he's not blocking. He's getting punched directly in the face. It's a little inconvenient and kind of shitty. So that's my first issue, is the connection situation. I mean, every match is going to be different, so the timing for a parry is going to be different. So now it's super risky to even try and get the parry situation down, and I don't agree with it. The second thing, well, I have on my little list here, was the visual cues. Like I said, I don't watch my fighter. I'm sure a lot of people don't. You know, I mean, you know what your guy looks like. You know what the moves you're going to throw look like, considering you've been fighting with that guy. So it's super difficult because there's not a large change from a parry stance, like the animation, to the not blocking. I was looking today. It's not that big of a difference. It's not super noticeable. So the only way I notice is when I'm getting hit with 2, 3, 4 hits in a row, and that's not great. So one of the things that was brought up is that apparently I was abusing the parry system beforehand by just being good at parrying. I could see that, I guess. I think like I said, I think it was too easy. But I don't think these are the changes that needed to be made. I think part of the problem also is that now with the sway, there's an added penalty for getting hit to the body when you use the sway. So now you're also deterred from using the sway too much. That leaves movement. Okay, that's great, but I don't like the movement system. I feel like it's been changed a little bit since last game. Side steps and dashing are kind of less useful, I guess, than they were before. I'm not sure why. I don't know if that's something I'm doing wrong or whatever, but so we have the sway nerfed and parrying is just completely jacked as far as I'm concerned. So a counter fighter now is forced to either alter their play style or basically learn a new system completely with the new parry being changed and that whole deal. So now we have to try and learn something that goes back to the first UFC game on next gen. You know, the parry system was the way that it was before the patch, all the way up until like 2 days ago. So we've played how many fights under a certain system, and now the parry's basically completely changed, and we're supposed to go ahead and just adapt to this real quick. Whereas what's actually happening is I'm getting smashed online trying to figure this shit out. I don't necessarily have a problem with there being a change. It's just the size of the change, I guess, is the problem. I think it's way too drastic of a change because, you know, the people who are super aggressive don't have to worry about it because they weren't parrying that much to begin with. They're coming out throwing all sorts of crazy strikes, and now I can't pick up. Well, I mean, obviously I can. I'm learning it. That's not the point. I can learn it. I will learn it if it doesn't get changed either way. But my point is, you shouldn't have to learn it because it shouldn't have been changed this much. So now you got these guys who were super aggressive to begin with, who can continue to be super aggressive because not much has been done in the way of that. Let's see, tune damage on uppercut combos. That's good because those were ridiculous. But a lot of, you know, the spinning attacks and significant strikes, I guess you would call most of them, are still not penalized that much in terms of stamina. So those can continue to be thrown all willy-nilly, and I have to try and time my parry exactly on point now, and that's difficult to do with variations in connection and all that shit. So it's tricky. I don't necessarily agree with it being changed, and also I don't know for sure why it was changed. I haven't seen anything as far as people complaining about the parry system being broken. Like I said, I do think it was too easy, but it's not like I've seen fucking outrage about it. It was just kind of a shocking addition to the patch, in my opinion. I'm not super active on the forums or anywhere that I would notice it, but I do swing by the subreddit every now and then. And I follow a bunch of people on Twitter. So it's like, where'd that come from? But anyways, I think as far as it being changed, I think what should have happened is, I have a couple ideas. Well, it's basically one idea. There could have been a cooldown rate added to missed parries, where if you miss the parry, you can't immediately parry right afterwards. So that would prevent somebody who mistimed a parry from being able to just tap it a couple times and get the parry either way. So now, instead of getting the parry, you're still blocking, but you don't have the opportunity to get the next parry. So that way, it's harder to parry, but you're not punished like ridiculously by not blocking and just getting punched in the face. The other thing I could think of as far as changes go would be, after you parry, there's a situation where you lose block for like a second, maybe. That might even be too long. But you lose blocking for a period of time, but it automatically resets itself. That way, you don't have to worry about looking to your character or getting punched in the face to realize that you're not blocking. It would automatically reset, but the missed parry would have a consequence of your opponent being able to punch you in the face. or kick you in the head or whatever they feel like doing. So that way, again, parrying's more risky, but it also gives you the opportunity to not die immediately after missing a parry. So I think that's a safer bet, or would have been a safer bet. I don't know where it's going to go from here, but I don't think this was the way to go. It might not have been so bad had they not also made swaying more risky. I don't know how much more damage you take to the body if you're swaying, but they definitely added it. It says swaying away from the opponent will put the fighter at risk for higher body damage. So that's a thing. And also, the parry situation is also concerning to a counter fighter. These guys, like, I don't understand what the reasoning is. Do they want this to turn into like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, where everybody just runs at each other and throws 500 strikes in a row and see who dies first? They have KO mode for that. I don't see the reasoning behind it. But either way, those are my opinions on the patch. Obviously, I'm one dude, but I'm hoping this kind of starts a discussion either way. And as far as experience goes, I have over 100 fights in this game. I think I'm like 77-30. Not great, but not terrible. And in the first game, I had a retarded amount of fights. So I kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about. So I hope that this kind of gets some attention, and maybe we can get this situation sorted out so a counter fighter's not railed the entire time. It's super unfortunate, but I'm hoping there's either some rationalization or some tweaks or something. I just hope it helps.